Greetings. I am Queen Diambi Kabatuswila Chiumwata, Mukalenga Mukaji wa Ankashama, Wabakwa Luntu, Wabaluba, Wakasai, wa Congo. That is Woman King of the Order of the Leopard of the Bakwa-Luntu people who are part of the Luba ethnic group in Kasai in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I am also Granjimai do Povo Bantu Brasileiro, that is traditional queen of the African descendants of Brazil, and Reina de los Congo de Panama, that is traditional queen of the Congo historical descendants of Panama. Today is a day we celebrate Mother Earth. Of course, it's not just the one day we celebrate Mother Earth. Every day, Mother Earth needs to be celebrated for the abundance that she brings us every day to sustain our lives. But today is a day that is internationally set aside by major institutions to have a special day of reflection about this planet we live on. We live on this planet, but we are also of this planet, meaning we are the indigenous people of this land. We are also made out of the same exact material that everything else is made of. So we are the manifestation of a long gestation of this earth and her process through, all the changes of billions and billions of years of her existence. So we are a culminating point of her own expression of her understanding of what life is. So the experimentation with different life forms, the achievements with those experimentation, and eventually we are some of the latest of her, children, because we are not the only one. Everyone on the planet that is alive and that constitute the core of this earth that we walk on is part of nature. So lately, we have been talking so much about the problems that are happening in the environment. And of course, those problems are extremely serious. And we have to understand that we have to focus on what we can do to change the way we deal with the planet and her resources and the abundance she's offering us so we can sustain our own life and our own existence. There have been many life cycles on this planet, and there's been many beings that are no longer here, including plants, including animals, insects, fish, and different types of hominoid, being that resembled us but are not exactly like us. So we are, descendant of a long chain of humanities that have been here before us. So we're not the only humanity that has been here. There's been other forms of humanities, and then we are now one of the latest one and one of the most resilient that the planet has created. However, with our resilience, we also developed, some skills and some understanding and some intelligence that has now pushed us to have a mastery over nature in many instances, meaning that with our skill, our intelligence, we have developed technologies that allow us to not only work in symbiosis with nature, because that's what we've done for thousands and thousands of years of our existence, more or less 400,000 years of Homo sapiens sapien, which is the modern human being on the planet. But for the latest decades, and I would say, just maybe barely a century, we have had the mastery of technologies that not only are there to make our life easy or edify our life, or sometimes destroy life, easier, unfortunately, like weapons of mass destructions, but that technology is also now putting in peril the systems that are the ones that are sustaining our lives. So I am a very big advocate for environmental, questions and practices that promote the restoration of the environment so that we can replenish all that we have already destroyed. Unfortunately, the economic system that we have right now is a system that promotes an amazing, once never seen before, exploitation of all the resources of the ground that nature has provided for us. The thing is, when we use all these resources, so there is like the extraction process, we extract more resources now than the rate of replenishment of these resources. When we talk about, for instance, the oil, We've been pumping oil to a rate that has never been seen before. So the earth took millions of years to produce that oil, and will necessitate millions more of years to produce more oil. But unfortunately, we are using the oil faster than the earth can produce oil. So that means that the reserves are depleting themselves. But not only that, but from the use of the oil that has promoted, human civilization to a highest level of technological development, we have also at the same time contributed to pollute the planet to the highest rate that we've never done before, meaning the carbon emission due to fossil fuel use. So it's quite essential to examine, our own behaviors and what is it that we are doing that are creating all these, issues. So our human activity is certainly, one major problem in the way we are developing environmental problems, because in those environmental problems, we have to look at different components. So I just cited the use of the resources, which is excessive. So to a rate we cannot replenish. And that goes even for the soil that we are using for agriculture. And because we are using the soil in such an unprecedented rate that most soils are becoming unfertile because of the rate that we are using them to produce the food we need, and also the type of chemicals we are using to fertilize the growth of the crops that we are planting. So that's a major factor in the problems that we are looking today for this planet. The second problem for me that I find excessively damaging is the use of chemicals and the use of plastic that we dump in the water. So there is a lot of toxic chemicals that we are using for our daily activities that are being dumped in the waterways of the planet, and that are now seeping through the phreatic nappe, the waterbeds, and also that are now being poured into the oceans and into every single water system that we have on the planet. So we are now understanding that there is a resurgence of microplastics, plastic everywhere, and fish absorb, the microorganism in the sea absorb those plastics, and now are causing severe issues. There are an island floating in the ocean of tons of plastic waste. And this is from our use of plastic. This is from our lack of ability to dispose of the plastic correctly. So those are things that we need to take a careful look at. I'm involved into a big project called the Great Congo River Project that is about, the management of the plastic waste in the basin of Congo, as well as how we dispose of the plastic waste, how we can transform it, how we can use it to either build things, how we can use it as fuel and so forth, or how we can use it as construction material, or how we can recycle it as new use of recycled plastic. So there's a lot of things that we are doing in our own behaviors that we can make a difference. But of course, it's not going to just take a couple of individuals to become conscious about that, but it's going to require the lawmakers to start legiferating and making laws to put the responsibility of the restoration of the planet not only on the end users, but also on all the producers who are using those toxic chemicals and the plastics. So that's one of the things that we need to take a serious look at. So our own pollution that we are contributing to. Of course, there is the pollution, the carbon emission that is now contributing to the planet, heating. However, there might be also natural phenomenon embedded in embedding this climate change. However, we have to also understand that we're contributing as well to the changes in the planet temperature. And as all of this is put together, we are also noticing a deterioration of the ecosystem, or the biodiversities in all the ecosystems that we have. And that biodiversity is quite essential to sustaining all forms of life, including our own. So when we go to overexploit resources, that means that we're destroying natural ecosystems just so we can gain access to those resources. When we are polluting our rivers, when we are polluting and doing waste landfills, we are also destroying natural ecosystems that our life depends on. When we are using producing excessive waste, including clothing, textile waste, including e-waste, so all the electronic waste, in addition to the chemical waste and the plastic waste, all of these, when we have to dispose of all of these, it destroys the ecosystems and the biodiversity of the planet. And we depend on that biodiversity. It suffices that one link is completely disturbed. It might, start a whole chain of destruction in the way we can sustain our own life. So there is this issue, for instance, with the bees that are disappearing at an alarming rate. And that has really huge consequences for agriculture and for our ability to replenish our food resources. So all in all, those situations are very serious. And we have never been in a place where our own activities, our own human activities, have contributed so much in destroying the very same system that is the one on which we depend for our life. And so what I want to say is that the planet can be destroyed, in the sense we can make this planet inhabitable for us, but the planet will continue as a planet. And we have to be conscious about that. There are planets out there that are living a very wonderful planet life that are just rocks floating in the universe. However, the danger here is that if we destroy the very systems of the planet that maintain life, including our life, but the life of every other species upon which we depend, because there is a interdependency between all these life systems, then it's really going to be a sad thing to be among the generations that have contributed to destroy the planet and leaving a very depressive and very difficult heritage for the generations to come after us. So on this very day that we are celebrating the earth, we have to also engage every single communities, and especially the communities of leaders, to legislate and to impose a very strict sanction and very strict guidelines and sanctions if the guidelines are not respected, and laws about the protection of the environment, the protection of our ecosystems, the protection of our biodiversity, and also to protect the lives and the lifestyles of those who are actually living a very harmonious life with the planet, and that is the indigenous people of the planet. We are about 450 million indigenous people on the planet, and the indigenous people are actually the custodian of more than 80% of the remaining biodiversity on the planet. And they have mastered over the course of their existence the way to mitigate and the way to work with nature, the way to respect nature, the way to use nature in a very good way, so that we do not destroy nature, but we also use nature to edify our own lives. And those people need to be put at the forefront of the conversation about revising our practices so that we can include best practices on how we handle nature. We also have to understand that all these discussions and all these turmoil that will be coming from climate change and environmental changes because of the destruction of our environment will yield to also inequalities, because some nations will have the means to cope for the consequences that are to come, and some nations will not. So we're going to continue opening the gap between those who have and those who have not. But once these climate change are starting to implement itself, who do we think will be the ones who are going to pay the highest price? We actually don't know, because the effect of those climate changes will maybe felt in places that we are unsuspecting right now. So it is important that in the work of thinking and rethinking our practices so we can protect our planet, we understand that it's not going to only be a few or those over there that can be affected, but it can literally be anyone, anywhere on the planet. And already today we see the effect of these changes in some major communities, with the increase of hurricane forces, the increase of flooding, the increase of fires, forest fires, the increase of rain, the abundance of rain and flooding. So all of these are already consequences, and they are not just localized in one part of the planet, so we can say it's their problem. It is our problem collectively, and we really need to do a lot of work to restore the health of our planet. And that may come with some sacrifices, and that's what we don't like to hear, especially in those industrialized countries, because we have been accustomed to a certain lifestyle with all the amenities that goes with it, including electricity, running water, disposable, income that allows us to buy so much things that we don't always need, and then end up throwing most of them in the garbage. And so we need to take ownership of our responsibility, and we need to make conscious decision into how we want to move forward. So the last word I will say is that education have to be extremely, extremely important in our quest to modify our behaviors so that we can give our planet a chance to continue to help us sustain our life. So we have to make sure the next generations are able to make better choices, but we have to inform. And yes, it's not always good to sound alarmist, but the advance of the destruction that we are causing our planet are visible and are very dramatic. So it's important that we do not negate the seriousness of this situation. So on that, may everyone be inspired on this particular day to start making some choices that are actually beneficial for the planet. And may the leaders send out and define clearly the guidelines on what is it acceptable behavior that will be conducive to restoring the planet and also not destroying the planet, but also to do what they need to do in terms of monitoring and sanctioning the behaviors that are destructive. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful and blessed Earth Day, and let's send a beautiful prayer and of gratitude to this Mother Earth that sustains our life. Thank you.